What is up, Argo Knots? This is D-Rec here with Alliance Rift Gaming Outlets, and I'm bringing you another Card Fight Vanguard feature fight. If you guys do enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for future content. We will also be doing Dragon Ball Super content, so stay tuned for that. But in today's video, we have the battle of the GOZARU. We have Yasuie with some of the stuff from set 10. It's not the new stuff, unfortunately. I'm working on getting practice for that. But Yasuie on the left, and then Shiranui with the Dominate engine on the right. In this fight, we're going to have the Shiranui player go first. He's going to ride into the PG and pass the turn. And then the Yasuie player is going to ride into Tonga, swing for 1 damage, and pass the turn back. So we're going to see which of the decks can kind of keep up. Like I said, the Yasuie build isn't completely up to date. I know GBT 13 just came out this weekend, so the deck's not quite done yet, and we're working on getting a deck profile for that, and then we're going to see if we can't do some fights with that build as well. We will have an Aqua Forest build for Valios coming up really soon, as well as one for Thavas, so stay tuned for that, as well as a few other builds for Kagura. We're looking at a Destiny build co-opted with Teams the Sharks, so I'll have a link to their channel in the description below, so if you want to check their guys out. Really cool group of guys, know them personally, so really fun team over there. So the Shiranui player is up, he's on his grade 2 turn, swings for 1 damage, and the Yasuie player gets the defensive crits, and 1 damage again for the defensive heal, keeping the score tied 1-1 at the end of the Shiranui player's grade 2 turn. Going into his grade 2 turn, the Yasuie player rides into Dual Weapon and calls a Yashibayashi to the back row, giving himself some search targets for when he goes to his first stride turn with Yasuie. He's going to swing for 1 damage, getting the PG off of his drive check, and then passing the turn back to the Shiranui player. So earlier he called the Stride Fodder and revealed the Dominate Shiranui to grab an SP version of the original Shiranui. Depending on the matchup, he could go into either or, whether he wants to go for the hand trap or if he wants to go for board control. But it looks like he's going to go into old Shiranui, and he's going to focus more on hand trap this time around. So goes into his attacks, gets a drive check, double trigger check here, gets the draw and the crit, powers to the Miyabi on the left, and then the crits to his Vanguard, dealing 2 damage, with the Yasuie player getting the defensive critical trigger. And in response to the rear guard attack, the Yasuie player is going to perfect guard, dropping the old Yasuie for the cost and passing the turn back to the Yasuie player. So now that both players will hopefully be at grade 3 after this, and they are, the Yasuie player is going to get the first stride of the game. And first stride typically goes for a few different things, but it looks like he's going to go into Yasuie Goma. Good first stride option, lets him get in instant rear guard. He's going to use the new Yasuie Stride Break to target himself and fetch for another copy of the grade 3. So the Yasuie grade 3, the new one from, not the new-ish one, but the newest one from set 10, its skill, Vanguard Rear Guard, allows you to draw a card from the top deck and then put one to the bottom deck, so kind of lets your deck thin a little bit. And the same skill applies for Goma. Goma allows any of your rear guard attacks, if they do not hit, you can draw one and then put one to the bottom deck from hand. So, and then the on-call ability from the Yasuie Stride Break lets him bounce the unit he called back to hand if it doesn't hit. So Yasuie Goma's skill is going to flip 1, then call the one he just flipped to the rear guard, since it's the only target he can choose. And he's going to call a Drenched Serpent. So when you boost with Drenched Serpent, and it doesn't hit, the attack that it boosts doesn't hit, you can countercharge 1, soul charge 1, and then choose one of your units and give it +4. So he's going to swing with the Yashibayashi in the back at Miyabi, and then he's going to swing Vanguard with the rear guard Yasuie. He's going to do the draw 1, put 1 back, and he's not going to do it the second time. He had the opportunity to do it the second time, but decided not to, and then adds the Yasuie back to hand. And then he swings with the other rear guard column with Goma, boosted by a Drenched Serpent. This is coming in for the 19k attack, so nothing more than a 10k guard. And the Shiranui player is going to guard with Abu Taishi, and he's going to get the +5 off that since he has less cards in hand. And then he's going to be able to do the draw 1, drop 1 with Goma's skill. then remembers to do Drench Sharpen's ability to countercharge 1, Soul Charge 1, and give +4 to one of his units, and it's going to go to the Goma on the left instead of his Vanguard, then Drench Sharpens goes back. And then he's going to swing Vanguard for 26. And the offensive heal, it does go off since his opponent is at 2. So now he puts down the 1, his opponent goes up 1, making the score 2-3 with the Yasuie player in the lead with damage at the end of the Yasuie player's first stride turn. So, since the Shiranui player was able to G-Guard that time around, he can go into a few different things that'll give him some advantage. If he has Sukumurakan, or if he wants to go into Magen Tenbu or Mujin Lord, those will definitely give him some plays. Because now he has some rearguard targets on his opponent's side to go into, and he has the G units face up to target multiple things at once. So he's going to pay the cost for Stride to Jing the new Shiranui for the cost. And this stage in the game, he's going to try and put some pressure hand-wise and board-wise on the Yasuie player, since the Yasuie player's main strategy is to try and keep some sort of board presence so he has targets to go into when he wants to make copies or clones, so he can go into his multi-attack plays. The biggest play for the Yasuie player being the Tenma turn, having Yashibayashi on board with EQs, and then the Tanba on rear guard, so he just keeps stacking that up. Infinite loops the Yashibayashi play with Tenma, and so long as he has Soul to keep multi-attacking for 11. But in this situation, the Shiranui player is going to go into Magen Tenbu. He's going to force the bind for the starter and then the discard from the Yasuie player's hand. The Yasuie player is going to discard an EQ from hand for old Shiranui's skill. Going right into his main phase, the Shiranui player is going to counterboss 1, pay the cost for Magen Tenbu's skill. And since the only target he has is Yasubayashi, he's going to target that, giving it +6 for the 2 face-up cards in his G-Zone. So that's going to be a 15k attack at the Yasuie player's Vanguard with the Domination ability. And the Yasuie player is going to take it, getting the defensive critical trigger there. So that's going to give the Yasuie player a base 16k to work with instead of base 11. Now, interesting choice of starters for the Shiranui player. Instead of playing the trial deck starter that gives an additional plus power to a dominated U in attacks, he goes for Kuroko, which is Soul Blast 1. When the attack hits, that it boosts an attack on your opponent's Vanguard. You can choose 2 cards from your opponent's bind zone and move them to the drop zone. So really good push play. I've seen a lot of builds for Shiranui, even after GBT12, play more of the hand trap engine, so it'll play Tamahagenes and either Fukis or Dreadmasters. The Dreadmaster being really key for the counterblast and the on-hit pressure to force the discard from hand. So that type of play can be really devastating to any type of build it goes against. But the prerequisite to that is that it has to play the crit that lets you countercharge and Kuronize, so you can get the countercharge off that. Otherwise, you're going to burn through counterblasts very quickly and have no real way to replenish them. So, going back to the match, the Shiranui player attacks with Tamahagane first, forces the defensive check on the Yasuie player, so the Yasuie was at base 21. Then the Vanguard swing into the Shirahagino for the 46k guard for the 3 to pass. Now that the Yasuie player turn is up, he really has no board, so he has no targets that he can really go into to try and generate advantage here. And his opponent is at 3, while he's at 4, so kind of wants to put a little bit of pressure on hand-wise. But in terms of the damage buffer, getting a lot of his Shadow the Shadow Stitch ability off, he's not going to have an easy time doing that, since the Shiranui player has some leeway to work with eating some damage early on. So he's going to go into Shibaraku Buster and pay the cost for his skill. Since the only target he can really get at this point is a copy of his Grade 3 Yasuie Vanguard, he's going to go into search for that. He's going to put it to bottom deck, and then put it down the bottom. So now he has a working 2 attacks that can be pretty devastating, but In terms of actual like hit pressure and stuff like that, it's kind of a bad spot for the Yasuie player, not being able to put more attacks on and try and poke around for more damage at this point in the game. So he's going to swing with his Yasuie rearguard first. Now the skill, I think it reads before errata that it has to be the first battle of the turn, but I believe that the errata just says if it's its first battle. So you can attack with Vanguard and your other rearguards first, and then go into the Yasuie or the unit that you called that has the drive checks, and then that can attack later on. So the Shiranui player ate the first Yasuie attack, and then he guarded the Vanguard attack, and now the Yasuie player is going to attack with a 21k base Yasuie with a crit at the Shiranui player's Vanguard into a guard and intercept. So that is the end of the Yasuie player's turn there, and the Yasuie that was called goes back to deck. Not too good of a spot, but he is still at 4, so there are very few options. Or there are very few options for the Shiranui player to go into. In this point in the game, either if he plays what was the triple-wear, the other one? Not Sukumura-kan. He's going to go into Sukumura-kan. The other option he could have gone into was Atago Lord, and that would have forced the discard 2 and potential crit pressure there. But it looks like he's going to go into Sukumura-kan, force the discard down to 4, and then since he is on old Shiranui, he can force his opponent down to 3. He won't get the rearguard. He won't get the rearguard ability off, but the Yasuie player has no rearguard, so it's already to his benefit. And he's going to counter blast 1 for the Shiranui ability. So now the Yasuie player is down to 3 cards in hand and kind of in a bad spot. He did get we do know he does still have one of the heals from earlier on in the game. So that's one potential G-Guard option for the Yasuie player here. But aside from that, not too sure what else he has in hand that he would be willing to guard with at this point in the game. Potentially some 10Ks and such for G-Guard attacks, just to try and fend those off. The Shiranui player calls out a Miyabi in front of the Stride Fodder, and then a Furai to the other side. He's going to go Vanguard first. And it's a tough spot. The Yasuie player is at 4 damage, so even one crit could end the game here, but with the lack of ability to guard here, this may be tough for him. And he's going to take the Vanguard attack. And the Furai on the right is going to get +2. So first check, Shiranui. Second check is the critical trigger that the Shiranui player needed to push the Yasuie player to 6 here. The power is going to go to Furai. And then this final check is a draw trigger, power to the Miyabi, and a draw. So first check on the Yasuie side of stand, and the Stride Fodder for game. So the Shiranui player takes this fight in this video. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe like I said at the beginning. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace out.